All right, let's get into it. For almost 20 years, people have been waiting, praying, for a sequel to one of the wildest RPGs ever made. When Bloodlines 2 was announced, it felt like a dream come true. But man, its development has been just torturous. And now that we're finally getting a real look at it, a lot of that initial hype is starting to curdle into some pretty serious concern.
In fact, one of the first deep dives into the new gameplay summed it all up with this pretty brutal Italian phrase, "We're starting off very badly." That is, not what you want to hear about a game that has this much hope riding on it. So what's going on? What's causing this reaction? Well, to really get why people are worried, you first have to understand the massive legacy this game is trying to live up to.
And let's talk about that legacy, because it's huge. The original Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines wasn't just another game. For a whole generation of RPG fans, it was a landmark experience.
I mean, it is the textbook definition of a cult classic. When it first came out, it was a commercial flop, released totally broken, a buggy mess. But underneath all those glitches was something truly special. Over the years, the community, the fans themselves, literally patched it, fixed it, and turned it into the masterpiece it was always meant to be. Sure, it looks a little rough around the edges today, but its core ideas, absolutely timeless.
So what were those ideas? Well, these were the pillars that made it a legend. You had incredible character customization, you had total freedom in how you solved problems, and you had this deep, gritty RPG story that completely changed based on which vampire clan you played as. That high replayability was everything. This is the gold standard, right? This is the bar the sequel has to clear.
And this is where we hit our first major red flag. It looks like there's been a pretty fundamental shift away from one of those core pillars, and that pillar is freedom.
The first game was famous for its wide-open, sandbox-style missions. But from everything we've seen of the sequel, it looks much more like a straightforward, linear action game. The big worry here is that they're sanding down all the complex, messy, interesting role-playing edges to make something more streamlined, something that feels a lot less like Bloodlines.
Which, of course, brings us to the next big point of conflict. And this one hits right at the heart of what an RPG is supposed to be all about, creating your character.
I mean, the difference here is just, wow, it's night and day. In the original, you built your character, your vampire, from the ground up. You chose everything. In the sequel, you get to pick between two pre-made characters and then just kind of tweak their appearance a little. So it's not about creating your story anymore. It's about playing through theirs. That is a massive step backwards for player agency. This one decision feels so disconnected from what came before that the analysis we're looking at said the game seems to have renounced its origins. That's such a strong way to put it. It suggests this isn't just an evolution of the series. It feels more like a complete break from what made it special in the first place. But if you think that was bad, this next one is the issue that has truly set the community on fire. This is the one that, for many, feels less like a questionable design choice and more like a real slap in the face. We're talking about the vampire clans. And let's be super clear. In the world of Bloodlines, clans are not just character classes. They are the entire foundation of the game. Playing as a hulking Bruja is a totally different experience from playing as a disfigured, sewer-dwelling Nosferatu. The world reacts to you differently. You have different powers, different story options open up. They are the absolute key to the game's famous replayability.
Now, to be fair, the new game is planned to have a total of 8 playable clans. That's a good number. It sounds like a fantastic amount of variety.
But here's the kicker. At launch, 2 of those 8 clans will be locked. And they're not just locked, they're locked behind a €30 paywall. So if you want the full, complete Bloodlines experience on day one, you actually have to pay extra for a more expensive edition of the game.
And that's really the heart of the problem, isn't it? As the analyst put it, these clans are an essential element of the experience. This isn't some cosmetic horse armor or a fancy skin. They've taken a core piece of the gameplay, a fundamental reason people love this series, and they've sliced it off to sell it separately at launch.
So you can imagine where this leaves the fans, right? You're just stuck. You're stuck between being incredibly disappointed and angry about these decisions and desperately hoping that the game still manages to be great anyway. This whole mess has led to a pretty interesting proposal for what fans can do. The idea isn't to just boycott the game outright, but to be very strategic and send a clear message with your money. And the strategy is actually really simple. First, you just buy the standard edition. That's it. Second, you play it and judge it for what it is. And third, you only pay for that extra content, those extra clans,
if and only if the base game is absolutely phenomenal. It's a way of telling the developers, prove to me this game is worth my trust and my money before I give you more.
Because at the end of the day, you have to remember all of this criticism, all this concern, it's not coming from a place of hate. It's the exact opposite. It's coming from a place of deep love for the original. Nobody wants Bloodlines 2 to fail. The absolute best case scenario is that all of us are proven wrong, and this game comes out and is such a masterpiece that it just blows all these doubts away.
And that leaves us with the big, lingering question. When you look at the more linear design, the stripped-back customization, and core content being walled off on day one, has this game really earned the right to call itself Bloodlines 2? Or is it something else entirely, just wearing the skin of a classic we all love? I guess we'll have to wait and see.